Ferrari briefly left the racing track behind on Wednesday, heading for a new destination, Wall Street.
The new CEO, Louis Camilleri, said, those are kind of aspirational. That's what happened to the stock.
Will Ferrari stock move as fast as their cars?
That is the sound of a legend. But what happens when a legend goes silent? This is a story about a puzzle that makes no sense. A company that sells fewer cars in a year than Ford sells in a morning. Yet, it's worth billions more. It's a story of a brutal war at Le Mans, a deal that almost restored its soul, and a comeback so audacious, it didn't just save a company, it built a $90 billion empire from a broken dream. It all started with one man's obsession being pushed to the edge, betrayed and left for dead. Now, Ferrari faces its greatest battle, a silent electric future. This is the story of how a legend built on fire and noise plans to survive. Our story begins with a 10-year-old boy named Enzo Ferrari. His life changed forever at a dusty racetrack in Italy in 1908. You can almost picture him, a small kid sneaking as close as he could, his heart pounding like a drum as a race car screamed past. Their roar rattled his bones like a storm. In that moment, Enzo knew one thing for sure: he would live his life for speed. He was, in his own words, completely hooked. Back home, his father's metal shop was a world of clanging hammers and hard work, but Enzo's mind was somewhere else. He would sit in class, ignoring his teacher, sketching sleek cars on torn pages of his notebook. He wasn't just dreaming, he was planning to outrun the world. But life hit him like a thunderbolt. In 1916, a terrible flu epidemic took his father and his older brother. The family workshop fell silent. 2 years later, Enzo himself barely survived the Spanish flu, getting kicked out of the army, frail, broke, and alone. Heartbroken, he dragged himself to the offices of Fiat, the biggest car company in Italy, clutching a crumpled letter and begging for a job. They sneered, "Get lost, kid," and slammed the door in his face. For a proud man like Enzo, that rejection was a deep insult. It became a wound that would never heal, fueling an empire for decades to come. Enzo didn't quit. He clawed his way into the racing world with pure stubborn will. In 1923, after winning a race, he met Paolina Baracca, the mother of a foreign World War I fighter pilot. She gave him a son's emblem for good luck. Enzo painted it on a yellow shield, the color of his hometown Modena, and it became his battle flag. But a flag is just a symbol until it's proven in combat, and Enzo's first war wouldn't be on the track, it would be in his own garage. In 1929, he founded Scuderia Ferrari, his own racing team. He swore by a simple, brutal truth: the car's the star, not the driver. He wasn't a genius behind the wheel himself, but he was an agitator of men. He famously declared, "I sell engines, the car's just a bonus." The roaring 12-cylinder engine was his soul, and everything else was just metal wrapped around it. Finally, in 1947, from a victory still covered in the dust from World War II bombs, he built his first car under his own name, the 125S. Its V12 engine roared like his own heartbeat. Enzo Ferrari was building more than just cars, he was building a feeling.
Il 1° di dicembre, nello studio dell'avvocato Enzo Levi in Modena, costituemmo la società anonima Scuderia Ferrari.
By the 1960s, Ferrari was a name known around the world, dominating races like Le Mans and Formula One. The prancing horse seemed unstoppable. But glory always comes at a price. Enzo's obsession with racing was draining the company dry. The company was bleeding cash, teetering on the verge of bankruptcy. In 1963, Ford, the American giant, smelled weakness. They offered Enzo $18 million to buy his company. The deal was almost done, but when Enzo read the contract, he realized he would lose control of his racing team. For Enzo, the soul of Ferrari was not for sale. He walked away. Henry Ford, a man as proud and stubborn as Enzo, took it as a personal insult. He growled, "We'll bury Ferrari at Le Mans," vowing to crush him on the world's biggest stage. And in 1966, Ford did just that. The GT40 stormed the podium, sweeping first, second, and third place, shattering Ferrari's 6-year winning streak. It was a public humiliation, but the devastation on the track was nothing compared to the war being waged since Enzo's checkbook. It would force him to make a decision that would haunt him for the rest of his life. To keep his dream from dying, Enzo had to swallow his pride and make a devil's bargain. In 1969, he sold half of his company to Fiat, the same company that had laughed him years before. He kept total control of his racing team, saving its soul, but Fiat's influence slowly began to poison the road cars. The 1970s and 80s were a disaster. Gas shortages killed the desire for Ferrari's thirsty engines. New US laws stamped the road. Fans hated the boxy new models, muttering, "These are for rich posers, not purists." The racing team stumbled, going years without a championship. The prancing horse was limping. When Enzo died in 1988, the company lost its spiritual leader. His last car, the F40, a ferocious 200 miles per hour beast, roared like a final act of defiance. In the silence that followed, Fiat took near total control. By 1993, a global recession saw sales crash to just 2,289 cars. Ferrari was at its lowest point. The shops were quiet, the dreams were fading. Fans began to wonder, was the prancing horse dead? Hope arrived in 1992 in the form of a familiar face, Luca de Montezumello. Once Enzo's young assistant, he understood Ferrari's soul and knew there was only one way to save the company: make Ferrari feel like Ferrari again.
Beautiful cars, innovation, new markets, victory in Formula One. Really, I can write a very big book on this.
As a new chairman, he became the sole restorer. He poured his heart into Mandello, investing $80 million to rebuild and modernize the factory. But the real magic happened in Formula One. Luca assembled a dream team. Jean Todt, a strategist with ice in his veins. Ross Brown, a genius who could turn metal into miracles. And Michael Schumacher, a driver with fire in his soul who could turn speed into legend.
Yes! Michael Schumacher takes the lead.
And then finally achieve it with a victory, the way we did it in the final.
Their hard work ignited a golden era of racing. Between 1999 and 2008, Ferrari won 8 Constructors' Championships and 5 Drivers' titles. The roar returned. Monza was electric, and fans screamed at the stands, waving a sea of red flags. This victory on the track brought life back to road cars. The flawed 348 was replaced by the stunning F355. Icons like 360 Modena followed, proving Ferrari was once again untouchable. This was Ferrari's spiritual comeback. The heart was beating again, the soul restored. But to become invincible, Ferrari needed more than just speed. It needed a new strategy. Then, in 2014, a new kind of leader stormed into Maranello, Sergio Marchionne.
Sergio Marchionne.
What were they afraid of?
Of not being here, right? It's that simple. This was really a question of existence. There's nothing worse in life than to sit there and be the victim of a process that's outside your control.
He wasn't just a car guy, he was a ruthless fixer known for his black sweater, and no-nonsense attitude. And he was about to weaponize an idea Enzo had pioneered, transforming it into a strategy so powerful it would make Ferrari invincible. He weaponized Enzo's old instinct for scarcity. His rule was simple and brutal. You only produce one car less than the demand. Waiting lists weren't a problem, they were the product. This wasn't just about selling fewer cars, but also creating a fortress of desire. He carefully increased production, but always kept it just below the soaring demand, allowing him to raise prices without any backlash. Ownership became a special privilege. You didn't just pay for a Ferrari, you had to prove you were a true Ferrariist. If you sold one too quickly, you were blacklisted from the club, because you don't own the Ferrari, Ferrari owns you. Marchionne's masterstroke was taking Ferrari to Wall Street. In 2015, he rang the bell for its IPO under the ticker symbol RACE, a single word that screamed speed and soul. This was a coronation of his luxury strategy. Wall Street finally understood this wasn't just a car company anymore, it was a luxury empire. The market went wild. Priced at $52 a share, the IPO was oversubscribed 10 times over. From that day, Ferrari's market value soared, eventually hitting an incredible $90 billion. The paradox was complete. A company selling fewer than 15,000 cars a year was now worth more than giants like Ford or GM. Scarcity had become Ferrari's moat, and desire had become its business model. The comeback is complete. But the legend is never static. Today, Ferrari walks an eternal tightrope, facing its boldest gamble yet, going electric.
Italian luxury sports car manufacturer Ferrari is going electric.
This is a new battle between roar and whisper. How does a brand defined by sound of combustion survive in an age of silence? Their answer is to re-engineer emotion itself. The first all-electric Ferrari, priced over $500,000, hits the streets in 2025. CEO Benedetto Vigna is obsessed not just with speed, but with soul.
Is it going to be a game changer for Ferrari in terms of sales and in terms of brand?
For sure, it is an important addition for our product offer, because for the first time in our history, we will have three kinds of traction: ICE, hybrid, and electric.
Engineers are crafting sound signatures, a roar designed to stir your blood and make electrons feel like adrenaline. Our EV won't be silent like Tesla's, Vigna stated. It roars with emotion. But fans are nervous. Imagine a mechanic in Modena who's bled for the prancing horse, finally gripping the wheel of his dream car after a decade of saving. Will silence steal the magic? This leap could make Ferrari eternal or shatter its heart. Ferrari vows it's not a mobility company. There'll be no self-driving, no compromise. The point of a Ferrari is the point of contact. Hands, highs, heartbeat. If Ferrari can map the pulse to electrons, the comeback becomes an inheritance. The phoenix rises again in a new form, not silence, but whispering power. Ferrari is no factory, it's a legend. Blazing red and roaring through time. It thrives by keeping dreams just out of reach, through grief, crashes, and fearless gambles. Ferrari's comeback is not a singular event, but a perpetual state of being, proving that a brand built on passion, protected by scarcity, is defined by a relentless will to win, can achieve a form of immortality. Enzo Ferrari once said, "I don't sell cars, I sell dreams." A century later, that dream still burns. Whether it's a V12 Scream or an engineered electric swell, Ferrari's true product is not a machine, it's an emotion. It's a thrill of a touching dream, one heartbeat faster, one car short of the world's hunger, racing into forever. And as the world lines up to buy, Ferrari is already quietly working on its next paradox. A car that runs on a fuel you can't buy, for a race that hasn't been invented yet.